Europe is under pressure. Many already see it as an old and tired lady, whose best days were a long time ago. But that is far from the truth. In this video I will tell you about 7 possible megaprojects that could transform the continent. All of them are bold and visionary ideas. But if Europe is there enough to make them real, it can once again set the rules of the global game. 1. Europe High-Speed Rail Network. A pan-European high-speed rail network could completely transform travel by connecting Europe's biggest economic hubs and population centers. One major route could stretch from London to Bucharest, passing through Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, Cologne, Frankfurt, Munich and Budapest, linking Western and Eastern Europe with fast and seamless travel. Another route could run from Lisbon to Stockholm, connecting Madrid, Barcelona, Lyon, Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, Hamburg and Copenhagen along the way, creating a powerful north-to-south artery. In southern Europe, a line could link Rome to Lisbon, running through Florence, Milan, Geneva, Lyon, Barcelona, Madrid and Seville, making cross-border travel between Italy, France and Spain faster and greener. Meanwhile, a central and distant corridor could connect Stockholm to Athens, passing through Copenhagen, Berlin, Prague, Warsaw, Krakow, Budapest, Belgrade and Sofia, bringing efficient travel to both northern and southeastern Europe. One more route could tie Zurich to Athens, stopping in Munich, Vienna, Zagreb, Belgrade and Thessaloniki, boosting trade and tourism between Central Europe and the Balkans. Finally, a high-speed line from Warsaw to Paris via Berlin and Frankfurt would create a fast and direct link between Eastern and Western Europe. While these routes are just a proposal, they cover Europe's most important cities and economic regions. With smart design and planning, the network would boost economic growth, enhance travel efficiency and reduce reliance on air travel. This is a great problem as Europe's dependence on short-distance flights and road transport causes heavy congestion, delays and pollution. In 2023, European airports handled over 2.3 billion passengers, with nearly 50% of flights covering short distances, leading to frequent overbooking and cancellations at major hubs like London Heathrow and Paris Charles de Gaulle. Aviation's environmental impact is far higher than rail. A Paris-Berlin flight emits around 250 kilograms of CO2 per passenger, while a high-speed train covering the same route emits less than 40 kilograms. To make trains more attractive than planes, Europe needs competitive pricing, faster travel times and better passenger experience. Equal taxation and rail subsidies would lower ticket prices. High-speed trains exceeding 350 km per hour, fewer border checks and easy booking systems would make rail travel as quick as flying. Plus, more space for legs, onboard Wi-Fi and city center arrivals would make trains far more convenient and comfortable. The network would ease traffic congestion by offering a viable alternative to long-distance car travel, which currently dominates mid-range trips between major cities. It would reduce road maintenance expenses and dependence on imported fuels. By shifting millions of passengers from airplanes and cars to a low-emission alternative, Europe may become a global leader in smart and sustainable transport, and also strengthen economic ties between its regions. 2. Pan-European Smart Energy Grid. A smart interconnected energy grid with a continental system of storages would allow to balance electricity supply and demand across Europe by enabling energy sharing that avoids any bottlenecks. Europe's electricity market remains fragmented and vulnerable to crises, leading to extreme price fluctuations, energy waste and regional disparities in supply. The energy system is highly unbalanced, with some regions struggling with shortages, while others waste electricity due to inadequate infrastructure. Germany, the EU's largest industrial power, relies on stable and affordable energy, but price swings have a major impact on its manufacturing. For example, during the energy crisis of 2022, electricity prices in Germany surged to over 700 euros per megawatt hour, 7 times higher than before the crisis. On the other hand, in April 2023, Germany generated so much wind and solar energy that electricity prices briefly turned negative. Italy imports around 75% of its energy, making it vulnerable to global price changes, which have already led to the closure of many small and medium-sized businesses. Eastern European countries like Poland still depend heavily on coal and fossil fuel imports, making it harder for them to switch to cleaner and more affordable energy sources. Meanwhile, Spain and Portugal, with plenty of solar and wind resources, lack the infrastructure to distribute surplus electricity to areas that need it most. Europe's electricity grid is aging, with over 40% of power lines are above 40 years old. By 2040, electricity demand is expected to grow by at least 50%, driven by electric cars, green hydrogen and digital industries. Without an upgrade, Europe risks more blackouts, higher energy costs, and losing industrial competitiveness. The new grid should incorporate digital technologies for real-time monitoring, optimization and automation. AI and sensors would help balance supply and demand, ensuring that renewable energy sources are integrated efficiently and preventing overloads. It should also feature self-healing capabilities to redirect electricity during faults, making the grid more reliable and sustainable. To balance deficits and surpluses effectively, Europe's upgraded electricity grid should connect countries with high renewable energy potential, like Denmark, the Netherlands and Spain, as well as major energy consumers, like France and the UK. Germany, with significant renewable energy capacity, should also be integrated, alongside countries like Poland, Czechia, Slovakia and Hungary, which are more dependent on fossil fuels. Additionally, Italy and Greece, with growing renewable potential, should be linked to ensure a more efficient and sustainable energy system across Europe. Denmark and the Netherlands have already demonstrated how large-scale wind energy can be successfully integrated into national grids, with Denmark achieving nearly 60% of its electricity from wind. Scaling up such models on a continental level would help reduce electricity bills, improve energy security, and provide a successful energy transition for Europe. 3. Trans-European Hydrogen Pipeline. The Trans-European Hydrogen Pipeline network would allow to replace natural gas as a source of energy in manufacturing, power generation and heating. It would transport green hydrogen from regions with abundant renewable energy potential to industrial centers in need of decarbonization. Hydrogen production could be concentrated in the North Sea, where offshore wind farms in Denmark, Germany and the Netherlands generate surplus electricity, and in Iberia, where Spain and Portugal's extensive solar capacity makes large-scale electrolysis viable. The hydrogen would be transported through a pipeline system extending from these energy-rich regions to Germany's Ruhr Valley, France's industrial heartland, and northern Italy's manufacturing centers. Advanced electrolysis technologies, including proton exchange membrane and alkaline electrolysis, would be used to split water into hydrogen and oxygen, ensuring that the process remains emissions-free when powered by renewable energy. Hydrogen has the potential to replace natural gas in manufacturing. In steelmaking, hydrogen can act as a reducing agent in direct reduction iron processes, eliminating the need for coke and significantly lowering CO2 emissions. Heavy industries such as cement, chemicals and refining, which rely on high temperature heat, can also switch to hydrogen combustion without compromising efficiency. In power generation, hydrogen can be blended with natural gas in existing turbines, or used in pure forms in hydrogen-ready gas turbines. In district heating, hydrogen can be gradually replace methane in existing pipelines, reducing residential and commercial reliance on fossil fuels. The Hydrogen Valley in the Netherlands serves as a model for how dedicated hydrogen infrastructure can support industry decarbonization. Green hydrogen is produced using offshore wind power, stored in salt caverns to balance supply and demand, and transported through a regional pipeline network to industrial users. The project also includes hydrogen-powered transport, with fuel cell buses and trucks operating in the region. By replicating and scaling up this approach across Europe, a transcontinental hydrogen pipeline network would significantly cut emissions, stabilize energy costs, and establish Europe as a global leader in hydrogen technology. 4. Smart sustainable cities. European cities are facing mounting infrastructure challenges. 60% of Europeans live in urban areas, yet cities like Berlin, Paris and Madrid suffer from rising housing shortages, inefficient public transport and higher energy costs. Traffic congestion costs Europe 130 billion euros annually, while outdated waste management systems lead to landfill overflow and pollution. Smart urban technologies in Europe are embracing innovations that can completely transform city life. In housing, retrofitting old buildings with energy-efficient technologies like triple glazed windows and solar panels is already transforming neighborhoods in cities like Amsterdam and Berlin. In energy, the integration of smart grids and decentralized energy production, such as the community-led solar projects in Barcelona, could be expanded across Europe to reduce dependence on fossil fuels and make cities more self-sufficient. On transportation, cities like Paris and London have successfully introduced electric buses and bike-sharing programs, while intelligent traffic management systems are being implemented in cities like Milan, helping to reduce congestion and air pollution. Cities like Stockholm and Copenhagen, which have implemented smart energy grids and AI-driven waste systems, have reduced carbon emissions by 40% while improving quality of life. Using these innovations wisely and efficiently would boost productivity, lower living costs, and attract investment, making European cities globally competitive in sustainable urban development. 5. European Water Treatment Network. A European-wide network of water treatment and recycling plants would ensure better water exchange between surplus and deficit regions. Northern and central countries such as Sweden and Finland, which have excess fresh water, could support drier regions through optimized pipeline systems and shared infrastructure similar to energy grid interconnections. By integrating smart water distribution and wastewater recovery at a continental scale, Europe could ensure a stable and sustainable water supply, reducing vulnerability to climate change while protecting agriculture, industry, and urban populations. Water scarcity is becoming a serious issue in Europe, with 44% of EU territory now suffering from water stress. Projections indicate that the situation will worsen, with increased temperatures, prolonged droughts, and growing demand from agriculture and industry exacerbating shortages. By 2050, Southern Europe is expected to face a 30% drop in water availability, while even historically water-rich regions like Central and Northern Europe will experience more frequent droughts. London, for example, is projected to face a 25% water deficit by mid-century, and Germany has already seen declining groundwater levels, threatening long-term water security. Despite these challenges, Europe wastes over 11 billion cubic meters of treated water annually due to inefficient recycling. This is equivalent to the annual water consumption of France, or enough to supply the entire population of Germany for more than a year. Rather than being discharged into rivers and seas, treated wastewater could serve as a reliable alternative source for irrigation and cooling liquid in power plants. To improve water management, additional reservoirs are needed in key locations where seasonal variations and climate change are making natural water storage unreliable. Southern Spain, northern Italy, and parts of Eastern Europe, including Romania and Bulgaria, would benefit from new or expanded reservoirs to capture excess rainfall during wet seasons and distribute it during dry periods. In Western Europe, better interconnections between existing reservoirs and natural water bodies could improve supply stability, especially in densely populated regions where demand is higher. Malta's wastewater reuse program, where around 10% of its water consumption is sourced from recycled wastewater, could serve as an example. The country treats and reuses water primarily for irrigation and industrial use, which is crucial given the island's chronic water scarcity. In Israel, though not in Europe, the country's extensive use of recycled water has been an inspiration. Israel recycles nearly 90% of its wastewater for agricultural use, showing that large-scale recycling can support agriculture in arid regions. 6. Unified Emergency Response System. The COVID-19 pandemic revealed Europe's weaknesses in emergency response. Countries competed for medical supplies rather than coordinating resources, resulting in Italy and Spain facing severe shortages of ventilators and PPE. The wildfires in Greece, Portugal, and Spain in 2023 overwhelmed national emergency services, while the cyber attack on Ireland's health system in 2021 left hospitals unable to operate for weeks. A fully integrated EU emergency response system would create a centralized coordination hub to rapidly deploy resources where they are most needed. The system would include a shared fleet of firefighting aircraft, medical evacuation helicopters, and mobile field hospitals stationed across strategic locations in Europe. A digital command center would use real-time data and AI to act proactively by predicting disasters, optimizing resource allocation, and coordinating cross-border responses. Standardized training programs for emergency personnel would ensure smooth cooperations between countries, while a dedicated cyber defense unit would monitor and counter threats to critical infrastructure. By harmonizing procurement of essentials, the system would prevent shortages and competition during crises, ensuring that medical equipment, protective gear, and emergency funding reach affected regions without delay. Europe currently has rescEU, a program under the EU Civil Protection Mechanism, which provides shared emergency resources such as firefighting planes, medical stockpiles, and disaster response teams. However, rescEU is limited because it only provides backup support when national capacities are overwhelmed, leading to slow response times. Decision-making remains at the national level, causing inefficiencies and resource competition. It lacks a rapid response cyber defense unit and has no permanently stationed EU-wide medical teams. These gaps prevent a fully coordinated and immediate emergency response across Europe. An integrated response system would ensure faster deployment of medical teams, firefighting units, and cyber defense experts, significantly reducing economic losses and protecting millions of lives. 7. Ecosystem Restoration Megaproject. Europe's ecosystems are deteriorating rapidly, with over 60% of soils degraded, leading to desertification in southern regions, and 80% of wetlands lost, increasing flood risks. In 2021, floods in Germany and Belgium caused over 40 billion euros in damages, exacerbated by deforestation and poor land management. Agricultural productivity is also declining due to soil depletion, with southern France and Greece experiencing up to 30% crop yield losses in some areas. Currently, there are several pan-European projects focused on ecosystem restoration. One notable initiative is Rewilding Europe, which aims to restore natural processes and reintroduce native species across various European landscapes. Additionally, the European Union has launched the EU Biodiversity Strategy by 2030, which includes ambitious targets for restoring degraded ecosystems across member states. However, existing projects are not enough to ensure long-term sustainability and resilience for Europe. Many initiatives remain fragmented, focusing on specific regions or species, rather than integrating large-scale interconnected solutions. Additionally, industrial activities, urban expansion, and intensive agriculture continue to press on ecosystems, outpacing restoration efforts. Regulations are also different across countries, creating inconsistencies in how conservation and land use policies are implemented. To address ecosystem degradation, efforts should be focused on forests, wetlands, grasslands, and peatlands through reforestation, wetland rehabilitation, and regenerative agriculture. Key ecosystems in need of urgent restoration include the Carpathian forests, which are losing biodiversity due to deforestation, UK and Scandinavian peatlands, which store carbon but are being drained, Mediterranean wetlands like the Nyana National Park that are under stress from drought and overuse, Central European grasslands degraded by overgrazing and conversion, and alpine ecosystems which are losing vegetation due to climate change and tourism. Restoring them would enhance biodiversity and reinforce Europe's resilience against climate disasters. Plus, restored ecosystems have significant potential in carbon sequestration. It's well known that forests can absorb substantial amounts of CO2 over time, but peatlands are even more effective at storing more carbon per unit area than forests. Wetland restoration also contributes to carbon sequestration while providing additional benefits like flood mitigation and biodiversity enhancement. The economic potential is also huge, with an estimated 1 trillion euros in ecosystem services recoverable through restoration efforts. Without a coordinated large-scale approach, Europe risks further environmental degradation, which could undermine economic stability, biodiversity, and climate resilience. A crisis is always an opportunity. I believe that Europe has power and courage to act, and these projects would secure its future, ensuring that it remains attractive and competitive in this era of rapid transformation. Thank you for watching this video. Share your thoughts in the comments. Good luck and be sustainable.